Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in to my 28th episode of Project Renaissance Man. Tonight's subject is going to be on refinement. There's not a word that I more associate with Renaissance men and Renaissance women than I do the word refinement, um, because they are all around refined individuals. And so I'm going to share with you guys a few pointers that are going to better help you to become more refined. And the very first one is to challenge yourself. Always seek things that are going to test your limitations, that are going to make you, they're going to push you through barriers. Because that's what life's all about. Like, if we want to really become better, we have to seek out challenges. A lot of challenges, yes, life throws its own forms of challenges at us, but that's not the same. We can become complacent very quickly if we don't challenge ourselves, because nobody's life, I would say, for the most part, is, super peachy. But that's not to say that some people don't have it fairly easy. And so especially if you have it easy, you got to really go out there and hunt down some challenges and take up on them. Um, and the more daunting the challenge, the more you should really want to face it. And you want to do this because what it's going to do, it's going to make you become, it's going to condition you to become a more determined individual who just naturally seeks out challenges and wants to always progress and get better. So it's like that being better mentality. And so if you're reading hard books and they seem very inaccessible, what I would recommend is just taking it slowly. If you try to take it all on in one shot, any kind of challenge that's difficult, you're going to feel discouraged or feel overwhelmed, and you'll just drop it and you'll turn away from it and not take up on the challenge. So it's important that you do things gradually, but nonetheless, you want to always challenge yourself. Read challenging books, books that are going to elevate your reading comprehension levels, because that's the thing. We can take the easy way out, and yes, it requires very little effort, but the rewards are going to be horrible. You want to challenge yourself because those rewards are beautiful and lasting, to say the least. The second pointer I have for you guys is to philosophize. We constantly are wrapped up in talking about news and Fox and CNN and ESPN and sports. And sports are an awesome thing. They're very enjoyable. I don't know how the world would be without sports. It's almost like music, although I do put music on a higher level than I do sports. Nonetheless, if we didn't have sports, man, wouldn't that be a whole level of dullness in this world? So they have their place, but I think there's also a place that is extremely, extremely neglected in philosophizing. The area of philosophization, because a lot of people don't take the time to talk about the profound. They don't take the time to talk about ghosts and speculation and God and the great unknown and certain taboos. But these are things we need to start doing again. We want to make sure we're exercising our brains and really pushing it to the limit, to what our brains can handle, and allowing them to grow and expand. And if we're to do this, this is the thing. When we neglect to exercise our minds, it's no different than when we neglect to exercise our muscle groups. Your brain will just as equally become atrophied in a sense. It just won't be as sharp. It won't be as capable. It won't be as functional. You need to exercise your mind to keep it strong and sharp. And so philosophization is one of the greatest things you can do with regard to that, because it allows you to be creative and thoughtful, which are things that we don't really practice too much, especially with the information age. You want an answer to something, you say philosophy's dead and you Google it. But I can be honest with you and say that so long as we don't have all the answers in the world, and we never will, philosophy will always be around. It always has a place. Even when, because we we can't be certain that the answers we do get, like even if we did supposedly know everything, we couldn't be 100% certain that those things were 100% like accurate. And because of that alone, and we're flawed, even with our thought processes. And there's so many theories that have been disproven throughout time, that were wholeheartedly believed by the majority, the masses. That alone shows you that philosophy is always going to have a place in this world. And just from that perspective, just in the sense that it's a great exercise for our brains. The third and final pointer I have for you guys is to savor things. Savor everything you can. Even in moments where you're not feeling the best or you're going through something, a lot of times you can find little streams of light seeping through those dark times. But you have to look for them, and you have to be observant. They're out there, and it can make all the difference. So savor things. When you're walking down the street, or driving down the street, more so, it's so easy for our brains to be trained on getting from point A to point B. We have an agenda, and but the thing is, you're missing so much in between A and B when you drive like this. So take in your surroundings. That's why it's so great to walk. Walking takes a lot more time, and sometimes you want to take your mind off the actual stress from a walk if it's a really strong pace and a long distance. And so to do that, it's win-win. Take your mind off of it, but also focus on things around you. You got all the time in the world to do so when you're walking. So I'll look at old buildings, and I know people that do this. My family members and a couple close friends are the same way. They like to look at old buildings and the architecture and gargoyles that may be on them, or detail. And that's a form of savoring. And when we practice this, what we're practicing is the art of appreciation. Do the same thing when it comes to eating. Make sure you're really enjoying what you're eating. There are going to be times where you're super hungry and you just want, your stomach's like, yo, get that in here right now. And then you got to like pound the food down. I get that. But for the most part, be sure you're actually really enjoying the flavor of the food, and you're taking it all in. Your experience is going to be that much more rich. And likewise with sex. Foreplay alone can be on the same level as sex as far as enjoyment goes, because that's an art form of its own just as well, and it's a part of the art form that is romance. Lovemaking is an art. And so you want that person that you're with to know that you are appreciative of what they're entrusting you with, which is their body, and that you're going to be patient enough that you're not going to rush to the parts that you want to get to, but you're going to actually be sensual and touch the person and treat them like they're sacred, their body, because our bodies are sacred. And just that act alone, it enhances sex and all that, and romance. It takes it to a whole other level. So yeah, challenge, savor, and philosophize. They're the 3 pointers I got for you guys tonight. If you guys have enjoyed this video and you feel you have benefited from it, please be sure to give me a like, give me a thumbs up, and sorry, my mind went somewhere. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys on Saturday. Later.